So let's talk about what I think might end up happening after the Shinemon arc ends. So basically, Bushiroad, one of the JP Bushiroad accounts, posted that they'd be having a conference/presentation on the 22nd of January 2020 at 2 p.m. Japanese time. This is pretty big because at the beginning of every year, at least for the past few years, Bushiroad has been having this conference. And what does that have to do with my channel? It has everything to do with my channel because this is usually when it's announced what they'll be doing with the CardFight Vanguard anime next, as well as, the card game. And they listed a bunch of different franchises that they own that will be discussed at the conference. There's Vanguard, there's Vanguard Zero, the phone app, which currently has a spring 2020 release in English. There's Buddyfight Ace, there's Y Schwartz, and there's Rebirth for You, which really tripped me for a loop because I don't know about you, but that katakana looks like it says Rebirth for You, not Rebirth, but whatever. I don't know Japanese that well, so maybe that is grammatically correct. I don't know. But we're not here to talk about Rebirth for You. We're here to talk about CardFight Vanguard. Really interesting thing to point out here, right off the gate, is that in 2018, we had this conference in March, and in 2019, we had it in February. Whereas in 2020, we're going to be having it in January, which is earlier than we've ever had it before, and by far the earliest we've had it announced too. With the other two times we had it announced like a handful of days before it happened, at least as far as I'm aware. Maybe it did get announced a little further than that, I don't know. But this time we're getting it announced well over a month beforehand, and maybe that means that they have a lot of confidence in this one. Maybe it means that they think that something big will be announced there that'll be worth paying attention to. Maybe they're also just a little worried that, hey, that new Yu-Gi-Oh announcement's coming very soon, any day now, and they want to make sure that people still remember that Vanguard's going on. I don't know. I like that those two franchises have competition. I know people seem to be very staunchly like Yu-Gi-Oh or very staunchly Vanguard, but I like that the two franchises have such stiff competition between each other because it means that both of them are very heavily encouraged to like try their hardest to kind of outdo each other. I know Yu-Gi-Oh has more rivals than just Vanguard, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that Vanguard's main rival is Yu-Gi-Oh. And so I like those two having a big kind of rivalry that they try to kind of top each other on. It means that us, the customers, hopefully get better content because of that, because they're trying their hardest. It's, monopolies are bad and all that other stuff. So what do I think anime-wise will get announced there? I definitely think something will get announced. I don't know what. We already know that the Shin arc is going to be split into two halves. The first half is just about to wrap up as I'm recording this, and the second half is going to be like a time skip where everyone's a little older and we get like a new plotline, I think. But I can't imagine that second half, being any longer than the first half. So what else are they going to do in 2020? And that's what I'm here to kind of talk about. I want to see if we can kind of nail down what the options are as to what we could be getting. So let's just rip the band-aid off right now. I said historically in the past, multiple times in lots of different videos, that I didn't think that we'd be getting a CardFight Vanguard G reboot. The Shin arc, however, has put that into a different perspective. The Shin arc has made me go from thinking, nah, they'd never do a G reboot, to, maybe they will do a G reboot. I wouldn't love it, but at the same time, there are some positives. I want to look at this positively. And also, I don't think it would be very long. I can't imagine it being any longer than the actual reboot, for the original Vanguard, which was around about 60 or so episodes if you include the Koshien. And well, the G reboot won't be any longer than that, because that would be weird to have the G part of the reboot be longer than, the part based on the original. So unless G just ends up selling a ridiculous amount more, I don't know. It's interesting to think about. So it'll probably be very short. It'll probably only last 1 year at most. And there's a lot of interesting stuff they could do with that. I might make that its own separate video, just like the ideas I have in as to what they could and couldn't change in terms of the reboot. And also, before anyone says, yes, I'm aware that G has a manga. I haven't read the manga yet, though. I haven't really done any research on the manga at all. If the G reboot does get announced, I'll probably will research the manga and do a video immediately kind of covering what the biggest differences between the G anime and manga are, because safe to say, you know, the Vanguard reboot V series was an adaptation of the manga, so if they're gonna reboot G, then it makes sense that they would be manga accurate. They would adapt that. Depending on how long or short the manga is, of course. I don't know how long it is, so I guess we'll see. So there's that. I do think it's likely, but mainly because we've been setting up Gear Chronicles in the trading card game and Chrono in the anime. We've been having a very extended focus on Mikuru and Rive and even Shin. In G, Shin's backstory played a pretty big role in setting up certain plot beats that happened in G, and so this could be a cool way of segueing that. So I could see that happening, definitely. And it makes sense. May as well, you know, if you're gonna do the reboot stuff, you may as well kind of drain out everything that you can. And the good thing about this too, again, looking on the positive side of things, after G, if they do decide to reboot G, that'll be it. They'll have run out of things to reboot. Unless they do decide to reboot the original again and just we get an endless cycle between rebooting stuff we've already seen. That would be funny. But yeah, I am more open to a G reboot because I think it could be good. I have a soft spot for G, and the thing is, and the reason that I kind of was so up in arms against the rebooting of the original, but I don't mind rebooting G so much, is the idea that absence makes the heart grow fonder. And that basically just means that, you know, if you don't see something for a while, then you kind of start to miss it. Now, the problem with the reboot was we got the announcement of the reboot after G had already brought back all of the characters. Because G started out with most of it just being focused on the new G characters, but then in Gears Crisis and Next and Z, they like brought back all the characters from the original Vanguard, especially Aichi from Next. And that was their moment of like, hey, look at these characters you missed over time and look how much they've changed and everything. And that was cool. That worked on me. Mainly because by bringing back these characters, one, it had been a little while since we'd seen most of them. But two, they had actually gotten older in universe. And so when they brought back characters like Aichi, he changed. Like, he'd actually done things since the last time we saw him, and so it really made it feel like he kind of aged in real time almost, right? Whereas with the Vanguard reboot was them going, hey, look, it's the original characters back again, immediately after they'd only just been brought back. But also it just kind of felt cheap because it felt like it was sort of undoing a lot of what G had done. My favorite version of Aichi up to this date was the version of Aichi in GZ because it felt like he kind of completed his character arc finally. It felt like the most kind of complete, old and mature version of Aichi. It felt like the ending of his story finally. He kind of went from being the shy, timid boy to being like one of, if not the biggest card fighter ever, and he'd like gained a bit more confidence over time and everything, and it was really satisfying to see this character that we'd been stuck with for so long like actually grow and evolve over time. And then we just get knocked back to square one again. That was the thing that was so frustrating about the reboot. And I also think that's why a lot of people who didn't make it all the way through G were a lot more open towards the reboot. Now, I don't know if that's just my theory or not, but a lot of the people who seem to like the reboot a lot are people who didn't actually make it to the end of G or even start G. Whereas G did a really good job, in my opinion, of building upon the characters and making them grow and change over time. And so getting set back to square one again with these characters almost immediately after this had happened really kind of felt frustrating. But with G, it doesn't feel as bad because it's been a while. It's been a while since we saw the G characters, and GZ did a really rushed and haphazard job of finishing these character arcs. And so maybe a reboot could, improve on the areas that G failed upon. Because of that, whilst I wouldn't necessarily encourage a G reboot, I'm a lot more interested in the idea than I ever thought I would be. And of course, I'm interested to see what this would mean for the game as well. Would they really bring back strides? And if you're not going to bring back strides, what would you do? Would you do a fourth imaginary gift or something like that? I don't know. And I kind of want to see what they would do. Because whenever I think of G, I think of the grade 4 strides. And a version of G that doesn't have them, that would feel weird. And I kind of want to see what they would do with that. So I actually do kind of want a G reboot in a way. I don't know, I just was so interested to see what they would do. And of course, there's the, obligatory stuff as well. There's Shooting Star. I might do a full video where I actually do like research and read some of Shooting Star, because I did read the first chapter a while ago. I didn't read any more than that though. I really like the idea of Shooting Star, and I might do just an entire video just about the possibility and the stuff they could do with Shooting Star later on. I would love to see an adaptation of that. That would be great, but again, I'll get into more detail with that later on. And then there's also, again, the other option of they could do something completely new and original. And the cool thing is, now that we're reaching this possibility that we could be getting a G reboot, again, once we have the G reboot, that's it. I can't think of anything else they can do in terms of rebooting stuff. And so if we do get a G reboot, then they kind of have to do something new and original after that, right? And that's interesting. I like that, actually. So even knowing it might be a full year off, 2021 is going to be the year we get something really new and exciting for Vanguard. Or they might just pull a Shin arc again and just give an already existing character their own story arc. I don't know. I don't know if the Shin arc's been particularly successful or not, but maybe that could be a thing they do more of. I'm trying to think of like what other characters. That's another good idea for a video, isn't it? I should do like a video where I just like list Vanguard characters that should get their own spin-off story arc. Oh, that's a really good idea. I want to do that now. Maybe back here later on, where in a new video I'm gonna do a video where like I kind of count down different Vanguard characters that should get their own spin-off story arcs and what those story arcs should be about. That's a fun one, actually. Because hey, if Shin got one and if it did really well, I could kind of see them doing it again. So those are the things that... Also, I guess I kind of had to mention it. Yes, the Bushiroad press release does mention that Buddyfight Ace will be there. I'm not getting my hopes too high for the anime's return yet. I think they're still pushing the manga, and I think that the stuff they've been doing with like the crossovers that have been built into the card game now, like the Idolmaster one, for example, I think that's probably doing pretty well. So I think that the Buddyfight hiatus will last a little longer. I do think it's coming back. I think it's coming back eventually. I just don't know when. I heard that there was like some studio drama or some mix-up or something that happened that actually caused it to be cancelled and everything. And we'll see. We'll see. Again, I'm not getting my hopes up for it because I don't want my soul to be crushed. I'm keeping my expectations low and tempered this time because whilst I'm looking forward to whatever it is they show, hell, even if they do just show card game stuff for both Vanguard and Buddyfight, there's no guarantee that we'll get anime news. But at the same time, like the Shinemon arc can't go on for that long, right? We must be reaching the end at some point. So I kind of do expect to see some new anime news in the next few months, and that January 22nd date's looking pretty likely for that. So yeah, anyway, I'm kind of looking forward to this. Again, I just said I wouldn't get my hopes up, but I'll see you back here later on once we do have more news and with more videos kind of fleshing out a lot of the stuff I talked about. So definitely remember to discuss your ideas in the comments. Tell me what you think about all that stuff, what you think they'll realistically do, but also what you actually want them to do, because I imagine a lot of the time there's a very important distinction between what it is you want them to do and what it is they actually will do. I guess we'll see. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this. The Shin arc has definitely kind of raised my expectations up a little bit so far. I've been enjoying that quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do next. So yeah, I'll see you later with more Vanguard videos as usual.